Morning, Anita. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Pinar. Morning, Pinar. Morning, Simon. Morning, Celia. Okay, so the allotted hour has arrived, so I guess I should get started. I'd just like to start, obviously, by welcoming you and thanking you for giving up your time to join this session. Good morning, Ian. Nice to see you here. So basically, I'd like to go through my professional development project, the title of which you can see here on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about student engagement and how does the topic affect the student engagement. My mentor throughout all of this, who was very patient and understanding, was Anita, so thank you to Anita. So basically today I want to talk about what is student engagement, the kind of background to my project, how I came up with this idea, what I did, what I was planning to do, and basically why that didn't work out as I wanted it to, really. And then I'm going to end with my new mantra. Okay, so let's start by talking about what is student engagement. Okay, well, no, we're not talking about two 20-year-olds falling in love and one of them going down on their knee and asking the other one to marry them. A different kind of student engagement altogether. So I did a little search and I found these definitions of student engagement. Okay, the first one is basically a definition and says that student engagement refers to a student's willingness, need, desire and compulsion to participate in and be successful in the learning process, promoting higher level thinking for enduring understanding. And then on the right hand side of the screen you can see a definition given by Troller in 2010. Student engagement is the investment of time, effort and other relevant resources by students and their institution, intended to optimise the student experience and enhance the learning outcomes and development of students and the performance and reputation of the institution. But I think probably out of these three, the most interesting one here is actually a quote from a student. As educationalists, we kind of get the concept maybe of student engagement, but what do students think it is? So to be engaged, says the student, in a course, to me means that the student, along with the instructor, are proactive in discussions and different types of feedback. The student should be actively engaged in the discussion to learn from each other and hear different opinions from others. So I think there's a general consensus throughout these three definitions that we're talking about student and instructors working together, being proactive in order to basically get as much as possible. Exactly, it's a two-way thing. And we need to remember that when we approach the lessons and our planning and what we choose to do. So I thought, just as a little bit of fun to start with, let's get engaged. Okay, on the screen you can see 4 pictures that I'm going to use throughout my presentation. Okay, I've kind of tried to disguise them a little bit. Some of them are pretty obvious. So I just wondered if you could have a look at these pictures, see if you can work out what they are, and maybe think, well done, Heather, we have a donkey. Okay. I don't actually think it is, unfortunately, because the donkey from Shrek's my favourite one. Mandarin, says Funda. Donkey, okay. Sun, okay. Textbook, yep. Jen, I think the ENG 101 teachers might recognise that. Paint, well, what's the paint hiding, Funda? Social media symbols, okay. Good guess, Heather, yes, okay. So I'll let you, yeah, the donkey's not very well. Well, it would be a nice shirt, Donald, that's true, but I might start printing them out. But so hopefully, as we go through this presentation, they'll become more apparent and you'll maybe understand what they mean. But as most of you guessed, one of them is indeed a donkey. Okay. Now, I know this isn't politically correct. I'm using it metaphorically. Please don't think that I believe my students are donkeys. But as a metaphor, I do believe that sometimes we do use the topic of a unit as a kind of carrot to lead the students towards the teaching, exactly, Heather, towards the teaching or language focus that we're doing, okay? And does it always work? I'm not sure. Obviously, it depends really how delicious the carrot looks to the donkey or the students, okay? So again, apologies, I am not using it literally, okay? So I think this kind of, the difference here is that with teachers, we tend to maybe focus very much on the learning outcomes, and the topic is a kind of in the background way of getting towards their learning outcomes. Whereas I think from the student's point of view, it could be the opposite. They are less familiar with the concept of learning outcomes. Of course, we try to explain it to them, but for them, maybe the initial focus is going to be on what the topic of the unit, the programme is. And I think depending on what the topic is, that can lead us to a very successful lesson, or it might indeed make us less able to achieve our learning outcomes. So that basically led me to my professional development project question. And my professional development project question is, as you can see, does raising the students' interest in a topic lead to them being more engaged throughout the teaching of that specific unit? And how can we involve technology as a means to increase such engagement? So how did I approach this? Well, I decided I was teaching, just to explain, I was teaching in the ENG 101 course, which is an academic skills course for freshman students. And the focus of ENG 101 is particularly on writing. So I decided to focus on Unit 4, which is the social networking topic. And you can see the learning outcomes here. So we were basically trying to focus on main arguments from a reading text, finding the main ideas in an interview, quoting these ideas as sources, using evidence to support ideas. And our ultimate target output was them to produce a piece of writing, an opinion piece of writing, basically, on whether social networks improve people's quality of life. So that was the unit I chose. And how I decided to approach it was, in the first session of that unit, I decided I had 5 different sections studying the same course. So I decided to try and use 5 different methods to introduce the topic. And you can see the 5 methods I chose here. So I'll go through each of these individually and just give you some feedback on how I believe each of these did actually work or not work, as it were. So the first one I chose was Mentimeter. I'm sure you're all aware of this online platform. Basically, it allows the students to anonymously express their opinions, so they don't have to put in their names. It's not recognised who made these comments. And basically what I did was I created 3 questions which related to the unit's topic and was based actually on the questions that were already in the book. And we did this in class, okay? And just, I'm not going to go through these in details, but just to show you the kind of level of participation. For the first question, write a definition for the term social networking. I got 16 replies from the students, some of them very short, some of them more detailed. For the second question, do you think social networking and social media have positive or negative effects on society? Explain your reasons. Again, quite detailed answers from 12 of the students. And then the last question was more agree or disagree against 3 statements. And again, these statements were taken from the book, and 14 students participated. So my conclusions about Mentimeter was that, yep, okay, the students did respond to the questions. They used their mobile phones to respond. The rate of response was quite good. However, the follow-up to that, I found I didn't particularly develop very well. So trying to keep the students' attention while analysing the responses and trying to develop more discussion from that wasn't successful. So therefore, if using this method in the future, I think I would try to come up with more suitable follow-up tasks in order to generate actually more verbal discussion on the topic. My second choice was our old favourite Kahoot. Okay, I've been using it for years. I use it for vocabulary revision, and I generally believe that the students were a bit it was a bit old school and they were a bit fed up with it. And actually, I think I proved myself wrong on that. They do still enjoy Kahoot. What I did this time was, instead of, I just had found actually one, I didn't even prepare it, I found a pre-prepared one on the topic of social media and social networking, general questions about it, although some of the questions did actually reflect the questions in the book as well. So we played that, okay, and you can see played it, okay. Response rate not particularly good, which doesn't really particularly matter. And then after I did this, I realised that there is actually a feedback section on Kahoot, where you can find actually how the students felt about the Kahoot. Did they learn something? Do they recommend it? How do you feel? And after I realised that was there, and subsequently I have used this feedback section on Kahoot with generally positive responses. So certainly in the future I would get them to give feedback as well, just so that I know how much they enjoy participating in that. So conclusions, contrary to what I thought, the students never seemed to tire of playing Kahoot. Generally, most students participate and do seem to still enjoy it. Okay, so as a way to introduce the topic of the unit, I believe that Kahoot can be useful in generating engagement with the students, and it's a fun, relatively relaxed activity where the students don't feel particularly stressed to perform. My third method was Blackboard discussion boards, which was interesting because yesterday Donald mentioned this in the future plans for our courses. So basically what I did was I used the function that's already there on Blackboard, and I set up a topic board. I created 4 threads, which were basically, again, questions from the book. And I gave the students time in class to do this, okay? And again, I gave them the option of commenting anonymously, okay? And again, and just to give you some indications, this was my discussion board. I think we had a total of 28 posts on the 4 discussions. My favourite one, I don't know if you can read this, one anonymous student did reply saying, "I'm dying inside," which I thought was quite funny. It's nice that they can even do that, kind of show a bit of humour and a bit of emotion in there as well, so that was quite nice. Again, I won't go through them in detail, but you can see that some of them did take time to write quite long responses to the question. Okay. But similar to Mentimeter, the follow-on task, trying to use that to promote discussion, use the answers to develop the discussion, wasn't particularly successful. So in the future, I thought that if I did use the the discussion boards, as we probably look like we will be doing. I think they're very useful, and I think you just need to sell them to the students and get them used to using them as a kind of regular thing. So I would encourage the students to use them on a regular basis throughout the unit or throughout the course, and maybe use it as a homework exercise, or even something that I know Anita's worked a lot on in her classes, this idea of free writing activity, where they get 10 minutes to basically write anything that they feel they want to. So something like that, certainly the discussion boards could be very useful. Moving on, watching the clock here. The fourth thing I did basically was I used the book as it was, okay? And you can see just here there was 2 tasks basically that I focused on. Discussion tasks, do the following tasks in groups. So I put them into groups, got them to discuss the questions, and there was actually a second pre-listening discussion thing they did as well. And it worked really, really well. The students seemed to be engaged in the group work. They had the confidence coming out of the group work, their sort of peer review, peer confidence to come to the open class stage and give lots of good feedback. Okay, so I think, as we all know, group work, peer work is a good way to get the students able to express themselves and bring that confidence out into the open class situation. Unfortunately, again, Donald mentioned this is not going to be as possible as it was in current situations, but in the future, I'm sure we'll be able to go back to the good old days of group work and peer work. The last thing that I did with my final section was I basically showed them some videos prior to the group discussions related to the topic, obviously. I chose 3 videos which I thought were short and engaging and would interest the students. However, I think basically there were maybe too many videos, or they weren't the best choice of videos. Of course, the students enjoy watching videos, they like visual aids, but I think you have to be very careful with the choice of video and the number of videos that you show. The subsequent discussions, I didn't think really, that's okay, Anita, the subsequent discussions didn't really benefit a lot from the videos, okay? So that was basically what I did, and my final kind of conclusions were that I believe the group discussions as per the textbook, so thanks to Neil and Anita, because they did all the hard work on the textbook, were actually the most stimulating when it came to engagement. And also, as previously stated, Kahoot is still a popular tool. So another sort of final or important caveat to all this study, of course, is the topic itself. The topic that I chose to do this research on was social media and social networking, which of course the students are already very familiar with. So they already had knowledge, they had vocabulary, they had things to talk about. So I think if it was just a topic where they weren't so familiar with the topic, you would again have to rethink this, okay? Maybe a well-chosen video would be able to encourage the discussion. Kahoot could be used as more of a teaching tool, maybe using blind Kahoot, something like that. And I think for a less well-known topic, Mentimeter could be for review and reflection, and the discussion boards could be an ongoing activity throughout the unit. So my follow-up study, okay, this is what I intended to do. I was going to focus on a unit where the topic was not so familiar, which was pharmaceuticals or research in the book we're doing currently. I would have used Kahoot video and group discussions at the start of the unit to try and engage interest, and Mentimeter for review and reflection. And I would have also prepared a task so that I could maybe test more objectively how well these had worked in terms of achieving the learning outcomes. But as that wonderful Scottish after coronavirus arrived and put all of our plans in the back burner, unfortunately. I still had plans to, you know, use Kahoot, use videos. Oh, I was so, I'm going to do this. And then my expectations basically were defeated by technology. Okay, I always thought that I was quite efficient using technology. I have learnt differently thanks to the situation. So basically, because of that, I couldn't really develop the project in the way that I wanted to. I found this poem, and it's a bit overly dramatic, I apologise, but basically it kind of sums up what I went through. I tried, I failed, I cried, almost died, looked at myself so hopeless and weak. Again I cried until my tears dried. But you know, this was the last time when I cried. So hopefully that's kind of summed up my online teaching experience. And my new mantra, okay, I'm rushing, sorry, I'm running out of time. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, feel better. So I'm basically still working on this. I'm going to take the summer to regenerate, I think, which is Donald's word. And I'm going to come back stronger in the next semester and try again to develop this project. Okay. As I say, time's running out. My computer has decided not to. Oh, sorry, my computer is also having bad times. I think I've got a connection now. So basically, I think you realise what we had in our pictures. We had the donkey and the carrot. This is actually a carrot, believe it or not. This is the inside close-up of a carrot. So the carrot's the topic that leads us to our learning outcomes. The topic was social media, and the textbook was that. So finally, again, sorry I'm rushing. Big thank you to Anita for her, she's had to go back to class unfortunately. Big thank you for my students for putting up with me and being part of this, and of course for all of you for taking the time out today to attend today's presentation. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you, Donald. Thank you, Pinar. And good luck to everybody and have a lovely summer. We can think about summer now. So thank you, Sally. Thank you,